It was well past midnight when a motorcade of sleek black SUVs quietly arrived at the gates of a military hospital. At first, the night shift staff hardly took notice, assuming it was just another visit from some high-ranking government official. That sort of thing wasn't out of the ordinary. But then, to everyone's shock, President Donald Trump stepped out of one of the vehicles, flanked closely by his Secret Service agents. The atmosphere immediately shifted. There were no flashing cameras, no press releases, no staged photo ops. This wasn't a publicized event. It was entirely off the record. Nurses exchanged bewildered glances, whispering to one another. Why was the president here, unannounced, and at such a late hour? Trump adjusted his suit with a solemn expression and entered the hospital with silent resolve. The hospital's lead physician, Dr. Reynolds, quickly approached, unsure how to proceed, or even address the situation. But Trump raised his hand calmly, cutting off any formalities. "I'm not here for politics," he said simply. "Take me to the soldiers." The sterile hospital corridors were quiet, interrupted only by the soft beeping of medical monitors and the gentle footsteps of nurses on their nightly rounds. This facility cared for wounded service members, men and women who had sacrificed greatly for their country. Some bore the physical scars of war, missing limbs, deep wounds, while others suffered from invisible pain and emotional trauma. As Trump walked past the hospital beds, his gaze lingered on the faces of each patient. These were the defenders of freedom, many of them now forgotten by the world outside. A young nurse, Emily, observed from a distance. She had seen political figures visit before, often for show, smiling for the cameras, shaking hands, making hollow promises. But this felt different. Trump had no entourage of advisors, no prepared speech. He wasn't here for attention. He was looking for something, or someone. Eventually, Trump came to a stop at one bed. A young man lay there, his eyes vacant as he stared at the ceiling. The nameplate on the bed read, "Private James Carter." A double amputee, James had lost both of his legs in combat. Along with his limbs, he had lost his sense of purpose. His fiancée had left him. His friends had drifted away. And now he lay there alone, physically broken and emotionally defeated. When James noticed Trump beside him, he didn't even try to hide his indifference. "You don't have to pretend you care," James said quietly. But Trump didn't walk away. Instead, he pulled a chair beside the bed and sat down. "Tell me your story," he said gently. James hesitated, but something in the president's voice, something genuine, compelled him to speak. For the first time in a long while, he opened up. He shared the brutal moment that changed his life forever. The explosion that tore through his body and soul. He talked about the pain, the sleepless nights, the phantom limbs, and the gut-wrenching loneliness that followed. He spoke of the world moving on without him. Trump listened, saying nothing, interrupting no part of James's confession. "Do you feel like your service meant nothing?" Trump eventually asked. James clenched his jaw. "Sometimes, yeah," Trump sighed, his expression grave. "That's a damn shame," he said. "Because you're a hero, and this country should never forget that." For the first time in months, James felt acknowledged, truly seen. Trump patted his shoulder and looked him straight in the eyes. "You're not alone," he said, "and I won't let you be." Emily, still watching from a distance, felt her heart ache. She had seen James refuse visitors and sink deeper into despair. Yet here he was, talking, engaging, maybe even beginning to hope. She approached Trump cautiously. "Mr. President," she said softly, "there are more soldiers like James. Some of them have no family. No one visits them. No one reminds them. They matter." Trump turned toward her, eyes sharp yet full of empathy. "Then show me," he replied without a second's hesitation. Emily led him through the ward, past rooms filled with injured soldiers. Some were unconscious, others barely able to speak, but one room caught her attention more than the rest. Room 207. "He hasn't spoken to anyone in weeks," Emily whispered. "He lost more than just his health." Trump nodded. "Let's see him." Room 207 was dimly lit. An elderly veteran, Sergeant William Reynolds, sat in a wheelchair, his gaze fixed on the night sky through the window. When Trump entered, William didn't look his way. "Another visitor come to pity me?" he muttered bitterly. "No pity," Trump replied, pulling up a chair. "Just respect." William turned slightly. "Respect? For what? Being too broken? To be useful?" Trump shook his head. "For giving everything. For raising a son who followed in your footsteps." William froze. His son had died in combat. The pain was raw, and his sacrifice had gone unnoticed by most. "How do you know?" he asked, voice cracking. William slowly began speaking of Lieutenant Jason Reynolds, who had saved his entire unit but was soon forgotten after being called a hero for a day. "They moved on," he said. "Like he never existed." Trump leaned in. "I won't forget," William scoffed, but the firmness in Trump's voice stirred something deep within. "His name will be honored," Trump promised. "I'll make sure of it." A tear welled up in William's eye. For the first time, in years, he felt like someone remembered, that someone cared. Turning to the hospital staff, Trump gave an unexpected order. "I want a list," he said. "Every fallen soldier whose family is struggling. Every veteran who's been forgotten." The staff exchanged surprised looks. This wasn't the kind of thing politicians usually asked. But his tone was earnest. One doctor finally replied, "We can do that, Mr. President." "Good," Trump said. "Then let's get to work." That night, he didn't leave after shaking hands or taking notes. He sat with doctors, asked hard questions, took notes himself, and made calls. The soldiers stopped being statistics. They became names, lives, stories. As he walked down the corridor to leave, Trump noticed a small boy sitting on a bench, gripping a worn teddy bear. His eyes, tired and sad, locked onto the president. Trump knelt beside him. "What's your name, champ?" The boy hesitated. "Michael," he said softly. His mother stood nearby, her eyes red from crying. "His father, Captain Rodriguez, is in critical condition. We don't know if he'll make it." Trump looked at the closed ICU door, then turned to Michael. "Your dad's a fighter," he said, "and fighters don't give up." Michael clutched his teddy bear tightly. He wanted to believe it. Trump entered the ICU, where Captain Rodriguez lay motionless, hooked up to machines. His face was pale, his breathing mechanical. Trump sat beside him and leaned in. "Your son is waiting," he whispered. "You've given everything for this country. Now let us give something back." The room was silent. Only the beeping of machines echoed. And then Captain Rodriguez's eyelids flickered. A single tear ran down his cheek. A nurse gasped. "He hasn't moved in days." Trump gently held his hand. "Hang in there." Before leaving, he handed Michael's mother a sealed envelope. "Open this when you're ready," he said. Hours later, she unfolded it. Inside was a handwritten note from Trump himself. It spoke of her husband's courage, Michael's future, and included something extraordinary: a full scholarship for Michael, and an executive order offering financial support for struggling military families. She cried, not out of sadness, but because it wasn't just a letter. It was hope. Back at the White House, Trump didn't rest. He got to work. He made late-night calls to lawmakers, strategized with military officials, and began laying the groundwork for new veteran care policies, better mental health access, improved health care, and full scholarships for children of fallen service members. The next morning, his staff was stunned by his energy. "We need action," Trump told them. "These Men and women gave everything, now it's our turn. Word of his secret hospital visit began to circulate among the military community. No press, no publicity. Just real action. Veterans received calls they hadn't expected. Families found support they thought would never come. When reporters asked Trump about changes in veteran funding, he offered no speech. "It's the right thing to do," was all he said. Emily watched the ripple effects spread. She had doubted it all at first, but the promises were turning into results. "He actually meant what he said," she whispered. Late one night, Trump sat alone in the Oval Office, gazing at a photo given to him by William. The photo of Jason Reynolds in uniform. He ran his fingers over the edges, then opened a drawer where he had placed a small pile of names. Soldiers he had met. Families he had learned about. "I won't forget you," he whispered. Months later, Emily drafted a letter. She had seen the transformation in her hospital. Soldiers receiving support. Veterans finding hope. And all because someone showed up, not for votes, not for fame, but because he cared. She mailed the letter, never expecting a reply. But days later, she received one. Inside the envelope was a handwritten note from Trump. "Emily, the real heroes are people like you. Thank you for fighting for our soldiers. You inspire more than you know." Enclosed was something even more shocking. A signed bill improving military hospital conditions.